So Workshop is an educational accountability management tool, and we have modules both for educators in the classroom as well as for administrators both at the school level as well as at the district level. These modules, we'll talk about each module as we go. The first module is an SIS system, or a student information system. Now, some schools already have an SIS system, and I think that's great. The problem is that most SIS systems are not on the same electronic platform as the student performance records, student behavior records, and things like that. Workshop is an electronic multi-module system that is all on one platform. So not only is the SIS system on that platform, but that platform also encompasses the curriculum, so lesson plans, homework, student academic performance, student behavior, including SST, IEP, and ELD reports. It also stores all data relevant to parent-teacher conference and intervention taken. It generates and archives responses to those types of inquiries, and everything's stored on one platform, accessible to the educator, the administrators at the school, as well as at the district level. The real value to Workshop is that all of these modules sit on one platform, all sharing relational data. So let's start out talking about the attendance module. So obviously we have a student roster. You can bulk upload the student roster, so it's very easy to populate. And we can run reports both at the classroom level, the school level, as well as the district level. So school administrators can see attendance reports per classroom, and then district administrators can see attendance reports based on each school, all the way drilling down to each classroom. And again, the attendance module sits on one platform that's fully integrated with all the other platforms. Okay, the next module at the classroom level has to do with lesson plans. So educators can create lesson plans and then store and archive those lesson plans on the platform, and those lesson plans can be shared with other educators. So one of the valuable things about being able to store and archive lesson plans is that educators teaching future classes can access those archived lesson plans and use them for future taught classrooms. This gives those classes consistency of content year to year to year, even though there may be a different teacher teaching that content. Now, from an accountability and validation standpoint, the ability to archive those lesson plans is incredibly valuable because educators can now prove what was taught in what classroom, on what date, in what subject. So if they're ever asked to validate what content was taught to what student on what particular date, they can always retrieve those archived lesson plans. The other great thing about those lesson plans is that they're all based off of a standardized format. Currently most educators are using their own format when it comes to lesson plans. So each teacher has a different format for each lesson plan. So there's really no consistency going from classroom to classroom to classroom, even within the same school. Okay, the next module is the student performance module. Now this module stores and archives all homework assignments that were assigned to students. And obviously their performance in terms of grades can also be accessed on this module. So if a parent ever wants to know what homework assignment was assigned to their child, the educator can go into the system, pull up the student's name, and by date, pull up the exact homework assignment that was assigned to that student on that particular date. The performance module also has IEP and ELD trackers. And again, one of the values of this being all on one platform is that school administrators can go in and run reports on these highly sensitive issues. Okay, the next module is the intervention module, and this typically has to do with student behavior. So for issues like student behavior running record, SST or student success team issues, and even parent-teacher conference issues, all of these records can be stored and archived. Again, currently most educators do not have a standardized electronic system to create and archive these reports in a way that's easily accessible to recall those reports if they're ever requested. So again, each one of these modules sits on one platform, so all of this data is relational and tied together. Now, if you look at other software programs, even consumer-based programs, most systems sit on one platform, right? Like take Apple, for example. With their contact system, their email system, their text messaging system, as well as their calendar, all ties together and shares data pulling from one platform. The same thing with Microsoft Outlook. They have their email system tied in with their contact system, their calendar, and even their cloud-based storage is all tied together on one platform. So that's really one of the true values of Workshop, is that you have all of these modules that, again, are both used by educators as well as school administrators and district administrators, all tied together on one platform where all three of those entities can access that data. So this is especially valuable when schools or even districts want to run trend reports. So if a school wants to run trend reports on a particular classroom or a particular educator, or a district wants to run trend reports on a particular school out of all the schools in that district, they can do so through Workshop. See, the problem right now is that most student records are stored in paper files. I mean, we're literally talking about loose leaf paper and Post-it notes sitting in manila folders stored in a file cabinet in the classroom. So school administrators don't have direct access at their fingertips to those student files, and then districts don't have access to those student files either. Now think about the legal liability that is involved when it comes to, say, a disgruntled parent wants to know why their child was treated a certain way, or wants to know what steps of intervention were taken or not taken in a particular incident or over a particular period of time. If the student's records, whether they be performance records or behavioral records, are only stored in paper files, there's no consistency from student to student to student in terms of consistent protocol, as well as consistency of how those behaviors or instances were logged and stored. And it's not just legal liability. I mean, think about the public relations liability. You know, parent activist groups are up in arms when just one mistake with one child was made by one educator. If that educator or if that school or district doesn't have proper documentation to back up what steps were taken or not taken with that child, they are literally walking around with a target on their forehead. With Workshop, any inquiry in any of those areas is directly accessible by that educator or that school administrator or that district administrator at their fingertips with a few mouse clicks. The same thing with parent-teacher conferences, right? How is that data stored? How are those records and reports stored? You know, usually notes are taken in a notebook, and then those pages are ripped out, put in a manila folder, and then stored in a file cabinet. You know, with tensions as high as they are when it comes to SST issues, ELD issues, and IEP issues, to take notes on a notepad and putting them in a paper folder is just not smart. Educators and administrators have to have an electronic, standardized way to store those reports. You know, if an educator's actions are ever brought into question, to be able to have each action date and time stamped and archived not only behooves the school from a liability standpoint, the district from a liability standpoint, and the teacher or the educator from a liability standpoint, from a public relations standpoint, it's incredibly important to be able to access that type of data at the fingertips at all those levels, the district level, the school level, as well as at the classroom level. It seems absolutely crazy to me that with the sensitivity level that high, when it comes to, again, SST issues and ELD issues and IEP issues, to have paper files. I mean, come on. You know, these schools and these educators and these districts, they have to have a standardized electronic method to store those reports so they can be called upon at any time, whether it comes to being in a court of law or it just comes into a parent-teacher conference. Workshop is that electronic tool that educators and school administrators and district administrators so desperately need. You know, it's one of the few products that was developed for and developed by educators and school administrators. Now, the product by itself is fantastic. I mean, hands down, we are literally the only company with a product like this in the market right now. But equally as important is the implementation of the product at that school level as well as at the district level. You know, we have product specialists and client support specialists that will make this implementation very, very smooth, very, very easy. The product itself is extremely user-friendly. But our job is to make sure that this whole installation and implementation goes on without a hitch. Your educators will love using this system, your administrators will love using this system, and even at the district level, your district administrators will love using this system. So we look forward to working with you.